All right. So again, one last time, I just want to apologize. It's been a pretty busy day today. Just trying to get Leet Clicker into a state where we can actually deliver it. Sorry, Leet Chat, that is. So just to kind of jump straight into Leet Chat. Basically, something came up last week. We're working on something that I think is going to be pretty important for the project. There'll be more details of this soon. It's a marketing opportunity that involves hopefully some expedited development in certain areas that I think are going to be pretty important to the project. There's not much I can say about that right now. It's still quite early stage. Some trust members are aware of this in the marketing domain, and the rest of the trust members will be brought along for the ride, hopefully in the coming days, once the paperwork has been dealt with, and then of course we can share that with the rest of the community as well. So essentially, that's just pushed me a little bit behind on LeetChat, but we've still made progress. I'm going to share some screens in a few minutes. Probably when we get to the questions part of the process, I will start sharing some screens. But LeetChat is coming, and LeetChat is already, to me, it's probably one of our most important developments because we're going to finally get this kind of social gaming feel within the Gamer Center. So not much in terms of excitement there for you guys because obviously another week has gone by and it's not been deployed, and of course that's what we all want to see. So that's kind of where we're at on that. So otherwise, the trust members have had a good week to play test the game. The biggest development, obviously, was that we pushed it to mobile rather than PC. So I can see the questions already popping up in terms of the state of the game. But I think it's important that you guys remember that to port the game to mobile is not a small thing. Also, a lot of the work was done on the back end. Now, in terms of game development, the trust have highlighted a bunch of stuff that we want to just improve, tighten up, or outright replace. Now, this is not a blocker as such in terms of deployment. So for those of you who might be concerned that if there's a lot of work to do, it means that the game is going to be delayed. It's not. There is a strategy that we're putting in place for the game that is going to take some time to not only formulate in terms of its release strategy, but also to deliver on. So obviously, once we've created said strategy, we can start to put timelines into place. But for me, what's important is in terms of the work that we want to do on the game, this will take place during this strategy's implementation. So I think for me, the hardest part of the work is done. It already was done in terms of like actually creating the game. And the second hardest part of the game is done now as well in terms of porting it to mobile. A lot of the stuff that we want to change now is smaller stuff like UI changes to the menus, to the screens, and also one or two OP situations as well when it comes to the power of certain weapons. But that's kind of always going to be a present problem. We're probably going to be tweaking the power of weapons for some time, even beyond this. So although a lot on the surface may not have changed, other than the medium by which we play the game, a lot of stuff has been done. And all the hard work, in my opinion, has been done. And a lot of the stuff now is just little bits of UI changes and so forth, like I just mentioned. So I think there's a lot to be excited about in terms of the game. And also, we are looking at ways to make the Leet ecosystem metaverse ready. This is something that we're engaging additional partners on, such as Hammerbyte. And again, we will share more updates on that soon. But in terms of the current focuses right now, LeetChat and the game, I think we've made steady progress on both. Obviously, LeetChat is a little bit late to the game right now, which is a bit disappointing. But I think in the coming days, the reasons why will become clear. And of course, once chat is deployed, I just hope that this will overtake the delay in terms of the excitement, because it's a good app. Okay, cool. So that's in terms of where we're up to on the development focuses. I think that's kind of where we're at. So I'm going to switch to the questions now. So as always, guys, if you've got questions, drop them in the chat. You will have an opportunity to talk as well once we've got through the submitted questions in the chat. So I'm going to prioritize them first, and then we'll get on with it. So thank you, Mist, as always, first in with the questions. And so let's start with Mist. So Mist asks or states, hearing, I guess, from the trust, game did not have much updates since beta. Why is there available funds to update it? Mechanism, rewards of the game, Web 2 mode for BL not infected considered? Okay, so again, like I kind of just outlined in terms of where we're up to with the game development, in terms of where we are now versus the beta. We've ported to a whole new platform, a platform that is more accessible. Most people couldn't even play Battle Leet when it was released in alpha and beta because of the hardware requirements for it. So we've solved that problem by porting to a medium that is more accessible for most users. Granted, it's only on Android right now, but did I say LeetChat game? Sorry, Frank. Granted, it's only on Android right now, but the aim is obviously to bring it to iOS as well. This also bypasses a huge amount of restrictions. The Play Store, especially on Android, is a little bit more receptive when it comes to blockchain-related games. So, yeah, so I mean, in terms of the work done since beta, I still think there's a sizable amount of work done. We are on a limited agreement with Hammerbyte. Obviously, since the market downturn, we've switched to a contract that is, I think, highly effective, where we get the work done that needs to be done, and we're not kind of locked into long-term expensive contracts. We own the game, of course. Like, this is not something that that's going to affect in terms of ownership or anything. So in terms of funds available, yeah, there's an agreement in place that continues to be in place. And in terms of getting the things done that need to be done, there's a plan in place for that too. Like I mentioned in the opening here, there's not an awful lot in terms of big picture stuff to do. There are some ideas around how we want to position the game, but in terms of game development itself, most of the hard work is done. So there are some stuff to do that we will work on whilst implementing and carrying out our marketing and release strategy. In terms of the Web 2 mode for Battle League, so obviously Infected is part of it, and we are going to be bundling the two games into one. So the single player version will be Infected and the P2P version will be Battle League. I don't think there'll be a clear differentiation between Web 2 and Web 3, since anything Web 3 related is kind of handled via our SDK anyway. But having said that, that doesn't mean that we won't consider a different way of positioning our game in the future. So yeah, let's not worry too much in terms of like whether we want to label certain parts as Web 2 and Web 3. I think really what we want to do is just own what we are. It's a game that does allow for Web 3 integration. And this is something that we're talking a lot amongst ourselves within the trust in terms of how we want to market it. But in terms of the game itself, I don't think it matters too much whether there is a separate Web 2 only version. I think what is important is that we ensure that the game caters to people who are not Web 3 natives and just normies, right? Who just want to play the game, which is what we're working on. Okay, cool. So the next step of Mist's questions is possibility to remove the beta label for Infected so that we can test the latest version. So there are difficult methods in terms of getting the latest version, but I understand that that's not great for everyone. However, there was a decision. We were on the path to removing the beta label. However, we've decided to keep it on because we are going to be releasing Battle League and Battle League Infected as a bundled package. So it will maintain. We'll probably change the name from Battle League Infected to Battle League. We'll keep the beta tag, and then once we are happy that this is a released version, we'll remove the beta tag then. But until then, we'll probably keep the beta tag, and we'll provide some instructions at a later point in terms of how to get the latest version. Okay, cool. So what is wrong with socials? Please give access to the trust. There's nothing wrong with socials. This is something that Ultimo has done a lot of work in terms of research and has actually found a really simple way to provide access to a designated delegate. And I've just not got around to doing it. I know this sucks to hear each week, but obviously my priority right now is software development. And I know that socials are super important, and I'm not trying to minimize that. And trust me, Frank and the team will get access to socials as soon as I just get myself 5 minutes of focus to implement it. There are two huge things happening in the GMR world right now that I'm actively involved in. One is obviously LeetChat development, which is, I guess, I would say 60% of my focus time is on LeetChat right now, with the other 40% involved in a rather important marketing opportunity that has presented itself. And I'm just trying to get both of them out of the door before I can concentrate on some of the administration. It's funny because this week, I feel like I don't have an awful lot to update you on, but there's like super important developments happening that I that I hope will be resolved by the next time we talk. And I'm hoping it will be a much more fun experience. Okay, so how do I feel about the current market? Is it a disaster or a way to stand out? Well, obviously the market is always going to be a kind of a volatile thing. So I'm trying not to focus much on the market. I'm just trying to focus on the core deliverables. So that's kind of where I am with that. Yeah, it's not great, but I mean, compare it to a year ago, 2 years ago. I mean, it's amazing, right? Like the macro market, at least, maybe not specifically to GMR, but yeah.
I have a question for you, Mark.
Where I am. Missed again coming in with an ETA on LeetChat. So one thing I'm definitely learning since taking the hot seat and pushing myself community forward is that giving dates is difficult, and I suck at it. So my feeling is that it should be released before the end of the week, but I understand that I said that last week too, so don't hold me to that. I think what I'll do, I'm going to get this thing done, get it released, give access to alpha badge holders without notification. I'll just maybe put something somewhere, and then I will announce to the community once those guys have had a chance to give it a good kick around the tires. So no ETA yet missed. I do apologize, but I don't think it's fair to keep giving you guys ETAs and then blowing past them. So,
Mark, I have a question for you.
Yeah, jump in, dude.
So on that note, where Mist was asking about how do you feel about the current market. So as we know,
Yep.
Bitcoin has taken a pummeling lately. Your opinion as somebody who's been involved in a crypto project for the last 4-ish years, almost 5 years now. Do you feel that the entire crypto market is tied to Bitcoin directly? And do you feel like Bitcoin has reached sort of the limit or is coming close to the limit of what it can reach?
So I think they're great questions. I think ultimately, yes, I think Bitcoin is the primary driver of the market. I do not think it's the only driver, of course. I think politics plays a huge part, especially on your side of the pond. I think we've seen Bitcoin grow to the ATH that it did, primarily driven by the receptiveness of the administration over in the States. But more so, you're seeing now huge companies in the regular world, let's say, such as Stripe. They've literally implemented a crypto native solution, which is going to unlock crypto payments across the internet, like Stripe dominate. So like for those of you that are not familiar with Stripe, you've definitely used it. So like when you pay for something at a checkout online, in most cases you're probably using Stripe. Like, these website builders like Wix, underneath their payment gateway, it's usually Stripe. Even if it's not overtly advertised, they're usually using it, right? And they've become very receptive to crypto, with releasing like SDKs dedicated to implementing crypto payments, right? And they're not the only ones. Obviously, central banks are now beginning to look into central bank coins, stable coins, and so forth. Like, I think all of these things are together pushing the market forward. But I do think that Bitcoin is probably like the beacon. I don't think it will forever be. Like, it's hard to tell. Obviously, like, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen ultimately in the future. But my feeling is that with the introduction of central bank backed stable coins, and the institutionalization of like Bitcoin and security within the securities industry, I think ultimately, I think the industry as a whole is safe. I guess I would say. I know that's not the question, but I would say safe. And I think primarily it will be driven by Bitcoin and other blue chips. Like, I do think there's definitely a future in other kind of blue chip tokens and coins. Yeah, it's hard to say, Frank, but I think a lot rides on what happens, unfortunately, politically over the next 3 to 4 years. I mean, I would be very interested to see how the Europeans decide to move forward with crypto regulation. They're definitely thinking more about regulation than the States, because it's very difficult for the United States right now, because on the one hand, you'll probably have a desire within the institutions over there to regulate the market. Like, it should be regulated in some ways, right? Like, even myself, like, who is operating within this kind of altcoin kind of space, and you might think that naturally we would prefer not to be regulated, but actually I think it provides certainty. I mean, with Leet Lotto having to kind of like be put on pause, that's because of a regulatory uncertainty. So we need that clarity. But right now, the states can't really do that effectively, because on the one hand, you've got institutions who want to provide that clarity. And then on the other hand, you've got a president YOLOing into all sorts of fucked up shit when it comes to crypto. So, yeah, I do think to answer your question that Bitcoin is probably going to remain the beacon. No, I don't think it's hit its ceiling. I mean, if you think about it right now, dude, we've got a situation where there's no clarity in one of the biggest markets. So as soon as there is clarity, then who knows? I think sky's the limit. Who knows? Okay. All right, dude. I'm going to answer one last question from this, and then we will open it back up once more. But just to say first, Diamond Hands, welcome back, dude. Good to see you around. He's not in the chat, though. But he's in the chat, but he's not on the call. All right, cool. So, Miss, don't you think it would be better to release Infected first as a marketing strategy and see how it goes, and then adjust the strategy on the main game? Release both at the same time, isn't it dangerous? So here's the thing. So first of all, the release of Battle Leet Infected. So for me personally, I think that Battle Leet Infected doesn't stand up on its own as a single game. It uses almost everything in terms of the assets from Battle Leet, the arena, and so forth. It's like a themed version of the main game. And I think actually Frank or Fitos or possibly Ultimo even mentioned in the chat the other day that it kind of feels like a Halloween kind of special edition or expansion or something. So I think having it part of the main game is the right thing to do. And I think one thing that we want to probably do, which is probably in line with some of the stuff that Frank and Fitos have been talking about, is kind of move away from overtly positioning Battle Leet as a Web3 game. So having a different game with a with a kind of like a non-Web3 feel to it in Battle Infected. I just don't think it helps clarify certain things. Like I think, for me personally, I think having them bundled together, it makes sense. And then that allows us then to not be kind of typecast into a Web3 game. I don't know, but definitely stuff to consider missed. For now, Fitos is obviously thinking about this quite a lot. Frank as well is thinking about this quite a lot, and the conversation continues. But I take on board your points. But yeah, I just feel like together is better.
Can I sort of give a trust member view of this real quick?
Well, perfect timing, Frank, to be just about ready to open up the floor. Please go ahead, dude.
So, as you guys know, we've gotten a chance to play the games recently, in the form that they've been left in for the last, I don't know, what would you say, Mark? Year and a half, 2 years, mostly. It's been intact about that long, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think most of the work has been done to convert to mobile and introduce the new API.
Yeah. So at one point, Mist, and other people who are wondering, the same sort of line of questioning, is to realize that Battle Elite Infected, as it is right now, was released on the App Store as a beta. And I think we've come to find out that it just wasn't, I don't want to say up to snuff, because it's a good mode on its own, but it's a mode nonetheless, in our opinion. At least the discussions we've been having recently. So as Mark just said, we pointed out that it does feel like something like, if you look at games like Overwatch, where they have seasonal events, it feels like a seasonal event rather than its own standalone game. So I don't think that it would benefit GMR to have something that feels like a mode of a different game to be its own standalone game. It's not at that point, and it kind of feels like it was never going to be at that point. That's just my opinion. But so I think that, are you comparing this game to an Overwatch triple title? No, I'm not comparing it to Overwatch. I'm just talking about Overwatch's specific seasonal game modes that they have. So no, I'm not comparing Battle Elite and Overwatch. I'm just talking about their marketing strategy for seasonal games and stuff. Anyway, yeah, it does feel like Battle Elite would be like a great mode to start up every, mid-September through mid-November or something like that. That's just my opinion on it. That's part of the discussions we've been having. Anyway, back to you, Mark.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think it does make sense to be bundled together as well. And what? Sorry, I cut out there. I don't know why it does that sometimes. Anyway, Mr. Banks, I think you're wrong. I think, of course, this is a AAA title. What are you talking about? No. All right, cool. Thank you very much, Frank. You provided some great context there. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes to allow you guys to either raise your hand or drop some questions in. In the meantime, I'm going to drop a little bit more of an update just to show you around the LeetChat app. So yeah, if you've got any more questions, we've got probably about 5 more minutes to continue that. And in the meantime, just hold fire and I will drop in an example.
Actually, Mark, on this point, where Mr. Banks was talking about, it's a mobile game, isn't it? So we've been sort of shifting the focus recently to Battle Leet and Battle Leet Infected being on mobile. What is the fate of the PC versions of these games?
So that's a great question. And so basically, one of the biggest limitations we have with the PC version, as mentioned towards the beginning, is that the hardware requirements were quite expensive. So what we did was we obviously focused on porting it to mobile, which does leave open the opportunity to kind of open up that whole PC direction. Obviously, it depends on what we want to allocate funds towards and effort towards. I think mobile definitely opens us up to a bigger market anyway. But then obviously the more serious gamers, competitive gamers, the kind of people who will stream the content would probably prefer to play it on their machine. So I'm not saying it's the end of the PC version, but it's definitely not the main focus right now. Yeah. All right, guys. So before we draw it to a close, I just want to say once more, thank you all for your questions. And hopefully next week we can talk on a bit more of a lighter note. We're working on some stuff that will hopefully create a slightly different step for us in terms of marketing. LeetChat, I'm hoping to get out the door, but no ETA on that just yet. But there is a rather useful demo on some of the stuff that you can expect in LeetChat. That's been dropped into the main channel right now. In the meantime, yes, Ultimo, last question just came in. Streaming is going to be ported to LeetChat. It won't deploy with it, but it is going to be coming to it. Also looking at vertical streams for people who want to go live, but we will see. Obviously, we want to ensure that we are appealing to the gaming community as much as possible, where regular streaming is obviously more desired. But anyway, yes, that is something that will come to it, just not in the immediate deployment. So once more, thank you all for joining. And until next time, take it easy and we will be in touch. Thanks.